I would like to ask that our panel 2 speakers remain in place. Our colleagues at NUAC have successfully negotiated a 15-minute extension, so we'll be able to stay in place until 6:45. We have received a lot of questions. I am going to select 2 questions for panel 2 speakers and 2 questions for panel 1 speakers. For panel 1 speakers, I would like the mic runner to bring the mic to the speakers. The first question is going to go to Professor Maxwell, and then we are going to go to Dr. Lee Sang-hyun. So Professor Maxwell, the first question will go to you. Taking into account North Korea's firm stance on nuclear weapons, what do you think is the ultimate objective of North Korea?
Well, I think it's the same objective that's been in place since Kim Il-sung has been in power. Number one is survival of the Kim family regime. Without a doubt, that is the single vital national interest of North Korea. Number two is unification of the peninsula under North Korean control in order to guarantee the survival of the Kim family regime. The condition that they need to achieve that is to split the ROK-US alliance so that in their calculus there will be the relative balance of combat power so that they could achieve unification militarily, again, in order for the Kim family regime to survive. Nuclear weapons are a critical element on multiple levels. You know, they believe it deters, it supports their blackmail diplomacy, and if necessary, you know, they can be used in wartime. So I don't believe that North Korea has any intention of ever negotiating away its nuclear program because nuclear weapons are critical to survival of the Kim family regime and their calculus.
Thank you very much, Professor Maxwell. The next question is going to go to Dr. Chon Bong-gun. The maintenance of the U.S. ROK strategic alliance could be perceived by China as a menace. From this viewpoint, the Chinese might consider that Korea would be less threatening as a neutral country and not a country allied with the United States. What is your opinion on this view?
Certainly, China seems to have concerns about a very strong Korea-US alliance. But they also, on the other hand, they seem to accept as a part of established security arrangement that cannot be, you know, altered or revised easily. So I think, and also we have shown that this Korea-US alliance is not really aiming or targeting at China, and I think that's our policy position. It's for the peace and stability of Northeast Asia in general, and also it's against the deterring North Korea's threats. So in that sense, I think even if China is not really completely happy about this alliance, but they seem to accept it as it is.
Thank you very much. And the next question will go to Dr. Lee Sang-hyun. The question is about the potential of technological and scientific cooperation between the United States and North Korea, or between South Korea and North Korea, the potential of such cooperation in terms of improving inter-Korean relations and the overall situation on the Korean Peninsula.
Well, of course, if we can expand the scientific and technology cooperation between to Korea or between DPRK and US, it will help to ease the tension. Well, actually, South Korea government also want to expand this cooperation in that area, but as you know, the record is quite poor because North Korea was not responding quite favorably upon South Korea's proposal. And it might be relevant to remind that some foreign countries like Canada, University of British Columbia, is inviting North Korean economic officers, and they have some program to teach capitalist way of economics, like a 3-week or 4 months, something like that. And if we continue to cooperate in that area, probably it will help to improve in relationship with the DPRK.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee Sang-hyun. The fourth and final question will go to Bruce Klingner. The question is, if China were to allow free passage to North Korean refugees, what impact would this have on North and South Korea? Bruce.
Well, first of all, it would bring China into compliance with its signature on international agreements not to return people to political persecution. So it would finally be in obeyance of its signature to the international agreements. I think there has to be a distinction made between not repatriating refugees that make it into China and a scenario where there's a free flow of hundreds or thousands of North Korean refugees or hundreds of thousands as part of a collapse or unification. What I was referring to is just not repatriating North Korean refugees. So they would be allowed to transit China, whether they go via Southeast Asia or Mongolia to get into South Korea, and then that way they would no longer be facing persecution. Under the sort of that minimalist scenario, the North Korean citizens would still have to get out of the very repressive regime that North Korea has imposed. So the numbers would not be significant, but those who make it into China at least would no longer face persecution or being forced into sexual slavery or other heinous acts. If it goes beyond that, it could induce more North Korean refugees to get into China, and then we would have a greater flow out of North Korea, which could increase regime instability. But it would also require North Korea to allow those citizens to go. So I think while we may play out a very expansive scenarios, hundreds of thousands of refugees, I think instead we need to focus on the more minimal scenario of simply complying with international agreements not to force North Korean people back into the regime and likely imprisonment or even death. Thank you.
Yes, please.
On this question of technical cooperation between, and as you know, we have a robust and strong global export control regime. So as long as North Korea developing their nuclear weapons and long-range missiles, we are obligated to not to cooperate with North Korea. So there could be some basic, humanitarian level cooperation, but as long as it's really scientifically significant cooperation, I think all these responsible states of members of the export control regime and the non-proliferation regime should be abstaining from cooperating with North Korea. Certainly there will be great benefit to both people if we are doing a lot of, a commercial scientific cooperation, but there is certain limitations.
Thank you very much. I think we have learned tremendously from our panel tonight. We have been reminded that the Republic of Korea has been a tremendous success, a country that has gone from rags to riches over just a few decades. We have been reminded that the U.S.-ROC alliance has been strong and continues to get stronger. We have been reminded that the U.S.-ROC alliance has been the bedrock of South Korea's security and prosperity. We have been reminded that while so many countries, and especially South Korea in Northeast Asia, have taken advantage of a few decades of extraordinary economic, social, political development, North Korea continues to remain a black hole on the map of Northeast Asia, a country that has been found to have committed crimes against humanity, against its own people, a country that continues to deny its own people access to opportunity, the opportunity to improve their lives, and truly the opportunity to have access to humanity. We have been reminded that while this is happening, North Korea continues to develop its nuclear and fixed seaborne or mobile missile capabilities with the ultimate goal of mounting a nuclear warhead on a long-range ballistic missile capable of reaching the continental United States. What we also know is that one of the main reasons why the U.S.-Korea alliance continues to be so strong is that we share the same values. And I think that for the past few weeks, We have had ample evidence that that is the case. Right now, this week, there are very substantial efforts happening in New York City to press for a strong General Assembly resolution addressing North Korea. The UN General Assembly is in session right now. On the 18th, a vote will be cast. On the 23rd of September, the U.S. Secretary of State, John Kerry, the South Korean Foreign Minister, Yoon Byung-se, the Japanese Prime Minister, together made very strong statements on the North Korean human rights situation. A few days later, President Park Geun-hye, speaking before the General Assembly, made it clear that South Korea is deeply concerned about the situation in the DPRK. Our distinguished speakers have brought forth a set of suggestions as to what the outside world might be able to do in order to bring change to North Korea, ranging from military engagement to technical subversive approaches to operations aiming for counter-legitimacy, to humanitarian intervention, or to the enhancement and enforcement of the existing sanctions regime. We also know that change can come primarily from the people of North Korea. We need to remember that we must continue to tell them three very important stories. The story about their own human rights situation. This is a country where crimes against humanity continue to be committed to this day. We need to tell them the truth about the outside world, in particular the truth about South Korea, a vibrant economy and a vibrant democracy. Not quiet all the time, but that's how we like them, a little bit noisy. We also need to tell them the story of the corruption of their leadership, in particular the inner core of the Kim family regime. We've heard a lot of extraordinary ideas today. We've been reminded that South Korea has the legitimacy to be the one country that takes the lead in this process of seeking peace and security in Northeast Asia. I believe that the distinguished speakers and all participants agree with two key issues. Issue number one, Korean reunification is sure to bring peace, prosperity, human rights, not only to the Korean Peninsula, but to the entire region. We also agree on a second issue, that the true key to the human rights conundrum, to economic development, to peace and security is Korean reunification. My personal belief is that reunification will come like a thief in the middle of the night, and it will take many of us by surprise, but not us, not those present here today, because we have heard passionate, informative speeches, inspirational speeches given by Executive Chairman Hyun Kyung-dae and all of the other distinguished speakers today.